Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka MBT, and Genesys Points Update. Pretty welcome distraction, I'll be honest. So, if you're unfamiliar, Genesys format gets regular point updates that change the format just a little bit. The current Genesys format is quite good, but it has to be absolutely perfect because it's about to have its big moment. That's because at the NAWCQ this year, they will be splitting Genesys to a Friday-only event, and then advanced on Saturday, then both day twos on Sunday. So individuals who had been staying out of Genesys because it trades out with their ability to play advanced now have a chance to dip their toes into the format. And the June points update is going to determine what is playable. Now, this is an update that specifically has to do with cards that were played at YCS Columbus, which is great because it was a super diverse format and we got a lot of data. More importantly, it is also not the only points adjustment we're going to have before the YCS. There's going to be a much smaller one specifically for the cards in the new Battles of Legend set. And to be honest, I think the points that are going to be associated with that series of cards is pretty obvious. We'll talk about it when it comes out, but they've released functionally 3 archetypes that have Genesys playability. Some of the cards in those archetypes will get hit. Let's talk about what's in here. I haven't read it, so we're going to do a blind react. We did a preview article before each points list. Last time there was a lot of speculation that was excessive, right, because they spoke in such terms that made people think that Droll and Lockbird was going to be more available than it was. So this time we're doing the points update and the companion article at the same time. So, what are we playing at YCS Columbus? Distribution, a lot spread out. The most common were RDA, Monarchs, Doomsday, and Dark Lords, followed closely by Radiant Typhoon, Clown Crew, Magnet Warriors, and Mimighoul. This is an interesting thing for them to say because we actually have the data, and we know that Clown Crew was not super well represented. I think there were 5 total people in a 140 person event, which means that distro was really sparse for that to hit them. Anyway, let's look at these. Crimson Blade to 10, Power Vice to 6, Jehudi to 5, Eidos to 5, Mimighoul Dungeon to 5, Crocia to 7, all pretty obvious hits. I will say if that's the only Mimighoul hit, they got off pretty easy for how powerful that deck is. Crimson Blade, of course, is a 1 of, so not a big deal to put that to 10. Power Vice is probably the most powerful card of the deck, but a 1-point difference isn't going to change anything. Jehudi to 5, I imagine, just shows up because Jehudi is the most powerful card in a deck that I think is currently unpointed. Eidos to 5, I've been saying for a long time that Eidos is the most obvious pointed card in Monarch. Good to see it go to 5. I think that archetype does need a lot of help in terms of putting points on the board, and this prevents you from playing Zaborg, because Eidos is, of course, a pretty significant part of that. Does not prevent you from playing either the Pot of Greed version or the Domain version, but I think those two are fine. And then Radiant Typhoon Crocia. I mean, Radiant Typhoon just needs like 15 additional hits, so we'll see. Individual card Outliers, unsurprisingly, Illusion Gate. I imagine that's going to get hit. I love Darkhold and Ultimate Slayer. I will be honest with you, I don't have too big of a problem with those cards. Kaijus that are not Gamciel, that's interesting. I hope they don't do the Japanese thing and just put every kaiju to a couple of points. And of course, I'd like to see the Heralds. Final Bringer, please don't hit that shit. We've debated on whether to consider kaiju on a name-by-name basis or treat all kaiju the same, but for the time being, we're considering them as individual cards, so we're going to tag Gamciel and see how things shake out from there. I will say there are some reasons why Gamciel is specifically a much better kaiju than the rest. 22 versus 24 is pretty significant. The star line is pretty incredible. Like 8 is a important number. I don't know. And then usage spikes for non-engine. I do like them talking about fairies. Here we go. Increase of decks that use a lot of fairy monsters and heralds, things like Keldo the Sacred Protector. We saw at this event a lot of individuals playing Herald of Orange, Herald of Green, Keldo, Mudora, and Lancia, and that was their non-engine suite. Like, they weren't necessarily playing fairy monsters, but if they played 15 fairy monsters, the heralds would usually be online. And what's this? Di-Fi. Let's talk about Di-Fi. We know a lot of folks have been wringing their hands over this card since Genesys launch, but its actual usage rate has been extremely low in all the actual deck data thus far until Columbus. At Columbus, the most reviled card in the format finally had an event where its reputation and registration numbers started to align, though even with a massive spike, it didn't reach 20%. Still, being in the high teens is enough to get it on the radar and get it some points. Before you ask, Dimension Shifter continues to decline. No, we aren't planning to lower its points, but an increase isn't justified by the data either. This is a little frustrating, but not the end of the world. I think it's fine that Dimension Shifter exists in a very slight amount of decks, but if a deck can make the conscious decision to play the free Di-Fi and Dimension Shifter, you're always going to be playing under macro, which is irritating. Finally, despite its point increase in March, the usage rate of Nibiru went up by about a third, so it will tick up again a bit. Also a great idea. I will say when we were testing for this format, it became clear there were Di-Fi decks and there were Nibiru decks, and the Nibiru decks were incredibly powerful. That card was very present. Eclipse to 4, great. Eclipse is way more powerful than its point rate would suggest. Moon to 3, I would love to see Moon start creeping into lists. 3 is about the point it has to be for that to happen. Di-Fi to 10, perfect. You will not see Di-Fi again. Wow. That is fantastic. It now lives in the same area as Mistaken Arrest when it comes to a spell card that wins you the game. When I say you won't see it again, you will see it. There will be decks that splash 60 to Di-Fi you, but they're not going to be very common. Gamciel to 3, that's fine. Illusion Gate to 10, that's about where I expected it to be. I think it could be a lot lower and still be pretty powerful. Shared Ride to 1, fine. That's the card currently that wins you the game going first, and it being at 1 doesn't change any math, but it does mean there's a deck building cost to it. Lancia should not be at 0. It's a fucking floodgate, and it's in every side. Herald to 3, it's over. Thank the fucking Lord. Tell me green light's on here too. Thank you to 2. Didn't necessarily need to be on here, but very happy that it is. Purple to 1 is actually pretty fascinating. I like that a great deal. There were a lot of decks playing purple. You wouldn't have expected it, but if you're already playing the other Heralds, I mean, purple does box out a lot of very specific strategies. Fuelos to 8 was incredibly well represented for having a 7-point cost. Nibiru to 8 is probably where it should be. Honestly, it could go to 10. And another look at Blazing Dominion. We costed Power Vice Dragon aggressively after considering RDA had half its points tied up in the extra and was going to get at least one more extra deck at the 10 to 15. But Power Vice Dragon was pretty slightly low. We need to make RDA play for Crimson Blade, so it's getting some points. We were worried that we might have overcosted the Clown Crew spells and left Flare at 0 to ensure players could try the deck out. It had a good debut, but players have concerns about the Wicked Avatar being achievable in this deck, which we understand. But the players have been trying to make the Wicked Avatar work on and off for 20 years now. If there comes a day when Avatar is able to replicate the successes of Plasma, it could receive the same treatment. They're not hitting Avatar. That's crazy. And Drancia is strong, but only one player rolled up with Earth Machine, which was less nice. Miracle Ejector escaped containment very quickly. It's unfortunate for heroes, but not the first time in the game's history something like this had happened. That's a result of Dwayne specifically playing it in the 4-slop deck. It is fantastic in that strategy. I think we'll see it get points alongside, hopefully, Cosmo Neos, which is so irritating. Speaking of Miracle Ejector, it falls into this category. Cards intended for a specific deck but broke containment and are seeing a lot of play beyond their theme. This is also where the KT monsters land now that they become engine cards and other synchro strategies. Just so you know, if you're unfamiliar, significant amount of decks are playing specifically Mix and Rico in order to put up like an imperm insurance or get a backup plan or even 1Q in order to engineer a scenario where you're able to get to a powerful synchro monster without using your normal summon specifically, and the Elf Note deck, for instance, was really good at this. Same with spell card Solex. It is basically super polymerization if you're playing 7-star monsters, and Cheng Ying is the best 10 in the game by a lot. So Warrior, Linear, Magnum plus minus, and Magnet Bonding to 5, I agree with. That deck is unpointed and extremely powerful. I think just the Kokai Mairu Guardian and, of course, the Nat Beast have points. That shouldn't be how it is. That said, this deck had a terrible showing at the most recent YCS. I expected it to be one of the top decks by a lot, and it was around. Miracle Ejector to 5, Stone Sweeper to 5. Stone Sweeper to 5 sounds stupid, but it's a Rico searcher. Keldo to 2, fine. Clip from 6 to 7, Q from 6 to 7, Mix from 0 to 5, and Rico from 0 to 5. So this totally boxes out Cool Tune. This, alongside the Herald hits, means that it is going to have to undergo some major changes to remain as competitive as it was, and there's no fucking way you're going to be able to play it with Rotary. Heavy Polymerization to 3, that's a really heads-up hit. I'm going to be completely honest with you. That is a card that was seeing scant play, but was very frustrating in decks where it was playable. Mudora to 2, Solex to 13. Fuck off! Yeah, that's absolutely necessary. It was shocking that this card was at 3. In any deck that could consistently get to a 7-star monster, or in Monarch specifically, this was an incredibly powerful card. It was seeing a lot of play in Clown Crew, too, so that is an indirect hit to that deck, which saw a little bit of success. Cheng Ying to 10 is about where it should land. Zaylin to 12, I don't think changes the math on anything. It's specifically a hit to RDA and KT. F-Zero Utopic Draco Future to 25 was seeing a lot of play at 20, and Utopic Future Zexal to 5 was seeing a lot of play in decks that didn't want to shell out the 20 for UDF. Shenanigans. For as long as SJC and YCS events have existed, there's been one person in the room trying to assemble Exodia. Okay, so here's what we got. Cosmo Neos, King Calamity, and this is interesting. The whole point of the hero combo is to get the correct materials in the graveyard, then use Favorite Contact to fuse them. We'll price Cosmo Neos the same as King Calamity, but Favorite Contact will not be getting points at this time. So Cosmo Neos to 21, Tachyon Primal to 5. Okay, Dark Lord Ixchel to 7, Infernoid Evil to 7, Magical Mallet to 3, Subspace Battle to 5, and Chicken Game to 10. So a lot to talk about here. Cosmo Neos is, of course, the win con to the hero deck that I just posted. It's game plan going first. I'll be honest, I think you can still play it at 21. I think that that deck has so few points that it is not that big of a deal. In fact, if you look at the topping profile from Columbus, the player was on 87 points. Like, that's insane, right? They were playing 3 main deck Fulos, and they were like, I don't really have anything else to do with the other 13 points. But, you know, good to see that it's got points at all. The Miracle Ejector to 5 will also change things. Tachyon Primal to 5 makes sense. That's getting the Dual Links treatment. That deck is, or that engine is quite powerful in a lot of places, and I remain convinced that Galaxy Eyes is an incredibly powerful deck in Genesys that no one's playing. Ixchel to 7 is written as if it is a hit to Exodia decks, which it is, but it's mostly a hit to Dark Lord. Infernoid Evil to 7 is there so that you can't do the stupid thing that they were doing where you send Infernoid Evil and then you grab Into the Void for an extra draw. Magical Mallet to 3 for the same reason. Subspace Battle to 5. If you're unfamiliar, the current Exodia deck would use Subspace Battle to reveal 3 level 10 what are they called? Time Lords. Then you would like normal summon Zaphion, use Tonkasatsu Shiojin, I think is the name of the card, to send that shit to the graveyard, draw 2, and then its effect draws you another card. Like, it was a really stupid fucking setup, but it was super consistent. And Chicken Game to 10. Chicken Game should beat 1,000. Fuck that card. Upstart Goblin to 10, Into the Void to 10. Yeah, as much as you can do to these, man. As much as you can do to these. Decks almost no one registered. Plenty of people were running Cheng Ying, but no one was playing Sword Soul, correct? Union Hanger has dropped again as well, and there's a bunch more. That is really concerning rather. Union Hanger is a really good card, and I know a lot of people look at it and go, why is this card 100 points? There exists a Union Hanger deck that is like tier 0 if the card goes down pretty considerably, so we'll see. Big Welcome to 15, fine. Change of Heart to 3. That will make it see play. That's fun. Crystron Inclusion to 20, fine. Self-Adore to 3. Dark End Evap to 0, sure. Danglong to 10. Diagram to 10. Tidying to 1. Dragon's Light and Darkness to 1. Duality to 1. Philia Regis to 7. These are all hits to make Dragon Maid more playable. And True Draco more playable. I think that Dragon Maid is a good fit for Genesys, and it's kind of irritating that it's not playable at all. Love to see Ulcanix come down 18 to 15. I'm a big Fire King Andy. I will take any excuse to play that deck. That said, that's not going to change the math. Foolish Burial to 25. Chalice to 1. Whoa! They were just going to sneak this in here? Oh, and by the way, Chalice is a 1. Are you kidding me? That is like best in slot, dude. Oh my god. Get excited to sleeve up Chalice. You will be sleeving up Chalice. Lands to 1, Gigantic Sprite to 7, Glow Up Bulb from 21 to 15. It is now no longer the only 21 in the format. Goblin Biker Bigabonga to 12, Chimera to 20, Imperm to 11, IKS to 0. Are you kidding me? Why hem and haw so much about fucking Darkhole? This is going to see massive play. Iron Thunder to 3. Dude. Those are 2 really playable cards. The Lyrilisc stuff, it looks like they've traded points around. Lyrilisc Mimighoul is the Mimighoul variant that hit the highest, but hitting these probably changes the math on that. Souls to 10, should have stayed 0. Sigma to 5, Meta to 3. Wow. Dude, Fairy Tail's a really good deck. You can't be doing this type of shit. Reborn to 3, Nash Knight to 13, Necro Valley to 25. Dude, put Necro Valley to 100. No one wants to play against that shit. Nightmare Throne to 13, but trades off with Phantom of Ubel to 88, whatever. Pot of Desires to 15, Premat to 2. Thank you for putting fucking... Wait a minute. These are the wrong ones. Bring back my boy, you freak. Premat to 2 is also really concerning. Dooms is really strong, although it doesn't usually shell out for premat. Return from the different dimension to 20. I think that card should be very playable. Put it at 0. I think people won't play it, but put it at 0. Return to the Dragon Lords to 3. Elder to 3. Shien Smoke Signal to 20. Snatch to 2. Wow. That's very, very powerful. Sword Soul Emergence to 7. Chi to 10. Long One to 1, Hyperlib to 20, Ashana free, Union Hanger to 5, big deal, Lulu down, and Welcome Labyrinth to 15. Why did it take so long to get a data-based point update? We don't want to base changes entirely off data from OTS events, correct. OTSs are small. Especially for Genesys, they are not fantastic sample sizes. Players use these events to experiment with new strategies, practice for big events, and generally mess around and have a good time. They would be pointing magical scientist if they got data from my OTS. We think that changing things up before there's even a chance to try out what you've been working at a big event will leave a bad taste in your mouth. There was an unusually long amount of time between major Genesys events this time around because there were no Genesys main events at the team YCSs, and the March-April slate were all team events. This shouldn't be an issue anymore because the big top events have begun. Awesome. Genesys regionals, by the way, still confirmed in here. That's fantastic because I was really afraid they were going to shy away from them. Next point update will coincide with the Chaos Origins premiere events and will be Glorious Gallery and Chaos Origins cards. Those are going to be really, really important because those cards are tailor-made for Genesys. Awesome. Well, all in all, my general thoughts about it are I think they did a good job giving lip service to every single problem I had. Obviously, the big issue I have with the format right now is the die-fi shifter, and while they didn't change shifter, they gave a reason for not doing so, and they did change the die-fi to a number I feel comfortable with. I do appreciate that they had a bunch of the stuff that I had on my radar on their radar. Cosmo Neos, for instance. I am a little concerned that cards like Union Hanger, which are very good, are going down. I hope it is not going to be a problem. I think the changes that they've made in this little green section are range from fine to pretty concerning. Forbidden Chalice is definitely extremely playable after this, but, you know, reasonable minds may differ as to whether that's a good or a bad thing. I think it's probably fine. I would really love a format where back row looks like Chalice Book of Moon, and it looks like we might actually have it this time. And happy to see that they've done everything they can to fucking kill Cool Tune. That deck is not particularly oppressive in this format, but its existence in actual factual advanced makes it seem kind of superfluous to have it here as well. Rest in peace, Heralds, we hardly knew ye. Okay, excited about the future of Genesys. As always, now is the time to get in if you are unsure what you want to play. This Chaos Origins premiere event update is going to be the last one we have before Nats. So I think probably your best bet is to pick a deck now and then start adjusting based on the outcome of this. Even if you decide you want to pivot to a like hilariously underpointed Chaos Origins deck, familiarity with the decks in the format will serve you very well, and all of the decks that currently exist in the format are going to abide this list. Personally, I think Fairy Tail is super well positioned. That's the deck that I think I would go in on at present, but you know, whatever you feel like. All right, bye-bye.